All right, what's up, everybody? Jeff Goodman here after lunch, Field of 68's after lunch, and we got a special show for you today. We got Matt McCall, Randolph, Childress. We're going to break down the entire coaching carousel, who our favorite hires were, who the head-scratching hires were. McCall, you can't get out of that one. You have to answer it, okay? I named it head-scratching.
No, you just finished lunch. We can tell you were still eating when you came on here. We can tell.
I was having some chips. I was having some chips.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
I called it head scratching because if I called it the worst hire of the cycle, I know you were going to tap out. So we're not going to let you tap out. That's why I called it the biggest head scratching hire. We're going to tell you our favorite mid-major hire. We're going to break down pretty much all the big time hires. There were 14 coaching changes among the Power Five in college basketball. There were obviously some others in the Mountain West we'll get to, in the A10 as well. But let's start, RC, with you and your favorite hire. The best hire of the cycle was what?
You know what? When I say best hire, coaching hire of the cycle, I always look at fit, and I don't know if right now everybody's undefeated. Everybody looks great, but I got a couple of guys. I thought Will Wade going to NC State. I don't think you can get a better match than those two schools right now for what they're trying to do. And we can talk about that in a second. I think the other one was Ben McCullum going from Drake and the way they played, their style of play going to Iowa. I think that's like the perfect marriage for him. And then the other one for me was Charlie Ward going to Florida A&M. I just think what he brings as a person. I've known Charlie for a long time. He'll be able to raise some funding and help that school tremendously. Not as much as somebody like Dion did, but in the state of Florida, what he could do outside of basketball, I think he can do a lot of great things for that university. So I'll start with that, then we can kind of go into, why or what you guys think of that decision if I need to defend it at that.
Damn, RC knocked them all out. He's got the mid-major guy. He's got the high-major guy. We're done.
Hey, man.
Is the show over?
Hey, let's move on.
Is the show over?
Let's go. No, but like I said, we talk about Will Wade. I like Will because he's coming into a league and he's trying to establish something there, but he's a defensive guy. And we know he can recruit and work his tail off. Forget the past and everything else, all that stuff. You can argue that. That's not what I'm here to do today. Getting to know him, Jeff, and I've gotten to know him through you. He's a different guy. I found myself defending him and people that want to crush him and say things about his past. And I thought it was just a testament to him when he was so humble and acknowledged his arrogance, acknowledged his mistakes, and he was humbled and who he apologized to everyone else. But basketball-wise, man, I mean, he's grown so much, and I think he's a hell of a basketball coach. NC State will give him the resources to compete. I think they feel they need to get back into that. And for a guy, he has an identity of his style of basketball that'll be successful. We've seen it in the tournament last year with them beating Clemson. Hell of a coach. And now he gets the right job that I think fits him, and that style of play will fit with him perfectly.
McCall, is that, for me, I'm with RC here. I mean, Will Wade at NC State, you are not going to find a better fit, right? Those fans are out of their minds. They want somebody who's going to fight John Shire, who's going to fight North Carolina, who's going to come out and say some crazy shit and then try to back it up. And, Will Wade's already got, Trey Holloman, good solid pick, veteran guard coming in. Terrence Arsenault, talented kid who never got really, a full chance at Houston because there was so much talent and he got hurt. I think they're going to get PJ Haggerty as well. I would think, to me, it'd be hard to argue with Will Wade being the best hire of this cycle because, again, of where NC State is and where they could be with him.
Well, and Goodman, too, they let a coach go that went to the Final Four. So you have to, if you're going to hire somebody after this guy just went to the Final Four, you better hire the right guy. And I'm with you. When you go through something as a coach, you lose your job, whatever happened. You didn't win enough games, allegations, whatever it may be, you lose your job and you take a year off. I mean, Will Wade moved to Chattanooga and helped start a trucking company there. He was out of it. and he goes to McNeese. Not the easiest place to go and turn a program around in Louisiana. It's not. When I was an assistant coach at Florida Atlantic, I had a game there, and I'm sure they've made some upgrades, and he's sure the athletic director. But the authenticity, too, during the whole process of course I've talked to him. Of course I have. I'm not hiding behind it. Yes, I have talked to him. And you know what else I'm doing? I'm communicating that to my team. I thought that was big time. But when you go through something where you lose your job and you have to kind of reset and hit reset, the other name I'll throw in there is Richard Pitino's Xavier. And he didn't sit out, but he goes to New Mexico after everything that happened at Minnesota. He loses his job. There's a lot of things you find out about yourself when you lose your job. And it helps humble you, and it helps make you a better coach. And that's exactly what happened to him. So I like that hire a lot too with Richard to Xavier. There was a lot of other schools that I'm sure that were trying to communicate with him and try to get him. But I just think those two guys in this cycle have been through adversity. And adversity makes you a better coach. So when I look at these hires, these big-time hires, those are the two that stand out the most to me because they've had to be humbled. When you get fired, you lose your job, and you got to reset. You got to reset. Okay, what went wrong? Where did I go wrong? And Will Wade, to take a year off and then go to McNeese. Come on, man, and go to back-to-back NCAA tournaments.
You know which one I like that I don't think enough people are talking about, guys. And part of it is, listen, when we're talking about really good hires right now, part of the equation now that was never in the mix, never mattered. In the past, it was always, okay, who are they going to hire for their staff? I would go out there and give guys grades right away. They get hired, and I give them grades before they even hire their staff. And then I changed that probably, 10 years ago. I want to see their staff. Well, now I want to see what their NIL situation is because – and we'll get into it. We'll get into it with Loucks in a little bit. We'll hear a clip from him when I talk to him, but Florida State does not have a lot of money. So, Loucks could be John Wooden. I don't know if he has a chance. One guy who does have some money, who I think is proven and fits this place, Ryan Odom at Virginia. I think you're not going to find a much better fit for Virginia than Ryan Odom. We know they've got
Jeff,
money.
I wanted to say it. I wanted to say it, but I thought y'all were going to call me a homer because I'm like, man, I'm going to pick my brother Ryan. And y'all would have been like, oh, you just picking Ryan.
No. First of all, Goodman would have. I wouldn't have.
Like, no,
I would have done it.
But I was really, if we had time to go into it, I'm like, man, he's gonna crush it, and I know he's gonna crush it. But I'm glad Jeff said it, not me. He does.
They got money. They got money at Virginia. We know that, and that's part of the deal. And that's what I'm trying to say is, are you going to have money to start? Because if you have money, you can get some momentum, right? You can win right away. Because if you don't win right away, people aren't going to want to give money. So you got to start with a little bit of money, which, again, Will Wade did at NC State. Ryan Odom did it at Virginia. And then you win, you get more money, you get momentum, you have a chance to get this thing going. Because if you don't, it's really hard. I think there's a shorter window than ever right now when it comes to, getting off the ground and winning right away. Like, if you don't win in the first couple of years right now, you're screwed. Like, I don't care who you got are 2 years. Now. You're not getting more than a couple of years. I think you got 2 years to show. You got 2 years to show massive improvement, or they turn in the page. And you can be there longer, but you're on the clock. The needle's either pointing up or it's pointing down, and you're in trouble. Now it becomes how much you buy out, where you are, depending on all that kind of stuff.
The other piece for him, too, is like there's turnover in the ACC. Right? Like, it's not the SEC in terms of, look, Florida just won a national championship. Rick Barnes is back. John Calipari is back. Like, you have these legends, like, that are still there. Like, there's not the same level of turnover that's been in the ACC. The ACC had a down year, right, compared to the SEC. So you're not taking a job in that league, and he's going to walk into that league, and with the resources, with the right NIL budget, he's going to be able to get that place going in the direction that everybody wants it to go in, right? Like when Coach Bennett walked away in October, and I tell people all the time, I was his last interview at ACC Media Day. You guys were there too. But when he walked away. This was going to be a difficult task for Ron Sanchez, especially with when it happened and at the end of everything. And now the league's a little bit down. There's been turnover in the league. He's going to have a chance. I agree with you guys.
All right, so RC, I thought one of the more interesting hires that got a lot of attention, and it was two-pronged here, was Kevin Willard. Kevin Willard, obviously leaving Maryland the way he did for Villanova. He got a lot. There was a lot of scrutiny on how he did it, right? That, he talked about it. Did he take away from his team? Was he a distraction? All that. Well, let's take that off the table. Who cares? How good a hire was this for Villanova, who just parted ways with Kyle Neptune after he didn't go to the tournament for 3 years? He had to replace Jay Wright. We know that was an unenviable task, but he didn't do what he needed to do. And then on the flip side, then I want to hear your take on Buzz Williams coming into Maryland, well-traveled Buzz, replacing Kevin Willard at Maryland. First start with Willard, that hire to Villanova. What's your take on that one?
My thing about Willard was everybody was upset about the process, right? Everybody tied to Maryland was upset. I don't care. I know he's fighting for his life when he says, give me money, give me resources. We're nickel and diming. And I listen, I say this without, people can be upset about it. I don't care. Maryland and me, that's home. I'm from there, as you know, Jeff. It's still a basketball school to me, and I don't give a damn how many millions they try to throw to a football. It just hasn't been what they think it's going to be, like most of these schools. And they should have been more resources put in that program. So I don't blame him for saying some of the things that he said. I could care less. People who are upset with thinking about it with their heart. Now he goes to Villanova school. He doesn't have to worry about that. And there's a ton of coaches out there that's upset and frustrated with how they have to deal and navigate it with schools that have rich tradition in basketball, like University of Maryland. And then all of a sudden the Terps, you're talking, he's complaining, and they've had financial issues. Like, everybody's going to go through it. But so I have no problem with that. They rebounded well. That was a major hiccup. I felt like their athletic department, their school, their trustees, they screwed up in a sense of allowing it to get to that far. You should have extended him. When you knew the AD was leaving, then you bypassed it. There's too many layers. Matt, this as well. There's too many layers involved in this that they should have been ahead of this if you wanted him. So my take, they just didn't want to extend him. For whatever that reason is, I look at it as you didn't want to extend him. You didn't give him the contract or whatever that is. And then obviously he felt as though, positive, maybe you did. And he felt as though, you know what, I can get out of here, go somewhere else. I got this Villanova job, which we know he has. And he took it and said, hey, I don't have to sit here and fight over financial reasons. I know I'm going to go there and be top dog and get all the resources I need because it's Villanova. The Buzz Williams hire is, listen, I'm a fan of Buzz.
Let's go McCall first. Let's go McCall first on Willard, and then we'll get back to the Buzz conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with RC in terms of, like, let's be proactive. Let's not be reactive. Like, when we get to this point, we're reacting. And my only knock on Coach Willard, and I don't know how you handle that situation, and Will Wade was in a completely different situation being at McNeese, but he was just forefront, honest, open, and yeah, of course I've talked to him. This is what it is. Of course I've talked.
Can you be at the high major level?
I don't know. I don't think you can. And that was the knock. It's like, you see what this guy's doing at McNeese, and he's being open and honest and upfront, and this is what Maryland fans are seeing, but you can't – I don't think you can. So that's not a knock.
And you know this, Matt. 90% of the coaches that you got to lie. 90% of these guys lie. Just like in this cycle right now. Let's say this about this cycle. We had, it's been 55 hires? How many of that 55 knew they had the job well before it was announced? You have to now. You have to. You have to. At least, behind the scenes, you're having these conversations. And it's different for McNeese State because he's going up so much. He can be like, guys, you're leaving anyway. Hey, how about some of you come with me? It's completely different as opposed to making a move, whether you think I'm leaving the Big Ten to go to the Big East. Like everybody knows, you know when you're moving, but you can't walk into your office and say, Hey, man, I'm talking to Virginia. I'm talking to
not when they're going to the tournament.
But this thing, RC, because of the portal, has gotten out of control. It has gotten out. The coaching carousel because of the portal is out of control. Jay Lucas didn't even get to experience a Final Four. Did not get to experience it. I know it's the job of a lifetime. I know they're paying him a lot of money. But had Duke won a national championship, he doesn't get to experience that as an assistant coach because everybody's so paranoid about the portal. The two guys that left Florida, that situation's different. Campbell, Columbia, like those jobs are different than Miami, which Jay Lucas got, but he didn't even get to experience that because everyone's so paranoid about the portal. That's the same thing with this Villanova, Maryland situation. What's going on? Is he leaving? Is he staying? How does he handle it? I don't know that he could have handled it any different. I don't know that he can be honest because he's got to go in his life. He's getting ready to play Florida in the NCAA tournament to advance, and his team, he's got a talented enough team to win a national championship.
Let's get back on point.
There were so many distractions.
Matt, let me get you back on point because I think what I want to know is how good a hire Kevin Willard to Villanova is from both you guys. I want to know that. Like, is that a great hire? What are realistic expectations for Willard at Villanova? Obviously, it's not to win 2 more national titles like Jay Wright did. But can Villanova get back to where they are fighting, UConn for, St. John's? Or is
Jeff, can he coach? We know he can. Can he coach? We know he can. Will he has resources that Villanova had on the team 2 years ago? Like, what are we talking about here? But this is Villanova. So if you're giving him resources, then yes, I think he can get it done. I think he's more on his back. I think the Villanova job is a better fit for him than Maryland.
Big East guy. I love the fact too. I love the fact he kept Ashley Howard. I do, because I think a lot of times when you get a job, it's like clean house. We got to have like all new things. And I have said this on the Field of 68 a million times, just in terms of like the Jay Wright way, and Kyle Neptune had to be Kyle Neptune, but Ashley Howard is well respected in the town of Philadelphia, winning a national championship at Villanova as an assistant coach, taking the LaSalle job, being a head coach. I think he can really help Coach Willard, but he had to bring in some of his own guys. I love the match there. The guy can coach. He can flat out coach. As long as they are providing him with the resources to get the players to be, pay the players to be there, I do think that they can be, in the same conversation in the Big East.
You don't like it, Jeff. I can tell you're not crazy about it.
Well, here's what I don't like their roster. I don't like their roster right now. Their roster looks completely underwhelming. I mean, you got Devin Askew. You brought in Acadian Lewis, who's a freshman, who we have no idea. Askew's been well traveled. I mean, he had a good year at Long Beach State, but everywhere he's been at a high major spot, he's been okay. I look at their roster and I'm like, I don't know. And again, like we talked about, that's year one. Year one might be an NIT, and then you go into year 2 and it's like, man, you better deliver. You better deliver right away in year 2. You can get, 1 mulligan in your first year. But if you go 0 for 2, just ask Kim English right now at Providence, right? You go 0 for 2, you go into year 3, and the fan base is kind of, they're split. Are you the right guy or aren't you? And year 3 is going to determine whether you get year 4, because most guys aren't getting 4 years anymore like they used to if you don't go to the NCAA tournament. So I like the Willard hire. I don't know if I love it because, again, I'm looking at the roster, and I certainly don't like the roster in year 1.
Well, he's got time. I mean, he got time in the portal. There's additions he can ask. I think the negativity surrounding the program.
Nobody left.
What everybody.
There's very little left in the portal.
It was very little to begin with. In some cases, no, but again, give him time. He just got there. It's the negativity surrounding the transition. I don't think it helped him in the portal.
I agree with that.
That's a good
100%.
That probably did.
I totally agree with that.
Because
could not agree with that more.
Against him. The negativity surrounding the hire, the way he left Maryland, it kind of took, national news. It didn't help him at all.
Totally agree.
All right. The buzzsaw going from Texas A&M to Maryland. I've been out there saying, that's my head scratcher. That's my head scratcher, to be honest, just because I don't know about the fit. RC, like you said, you're from around there. You're from Maryland. Buzz Williams is a guy that, go ahead.
He can flat out coach, Jeff. I don't think either one of us will say that. I think this is one of those. Buzz doesn't let the feet, the paint dry on the wall long enough before he's out of there. I think this Maryland gig will be as quick as any. He'll win some games. He just what it is. He's just a guy that wears out people. He wears you out. And coaching Maryland and coaching at Georgetown, it's harder than people think. And there'll be some people that hear me that know in the area and know what I'm talking about. It's just more challenges than you think it is. It's never as easy. It looks great because you hear it from the outside. Oh, this talent, the DMV and all this other stuff. And then you get there and you're like, damn. It's always a lot more difficult than you think. And you can ask Ed Cooley. And we all think he's a hell of a coach. So I'm so Buzz just is Buzz. I acknowledge what he is and how good of a coach I think he is, but the way he is treated some people and the way he is sometimes just scratches your head. And this was Maryland trying to hire a save face, and everybody's rumoring he could get out, and this was the guy they could get because he was getting out. That's what it felt like without even knowing anything. It was, we lost the coach. Who are we gonna get? All this is movements going on. Buzz is looking to get. We rumor he's getting the hell out of A&M. Let's go get that guy now. We look like we've done our job. Bravo! Because again, I go back to trustees and everybody else that takes part in this mess that was created about Maryland basketball. And Buzz was just somebody they can say, all right, we got a successful coach.
And I know McCall. I know people will say, well, he was in Blacksburg. He was at Virginia Tech. It's not that far from Maryland. It's like a different world going from Blacksburg to College Park. And you did it. You went from, Florida, Chattanooga, a Southern guy, up to Massachusetts. And I was the first one to say I questioned it. I did. I questioned it because
that would have been your head scratcher if we were doing this show back in 2017.
It would have been.
Matt McCall to UMass would have been your head scratcher.
This one even more so because, again, you treat people. I don't want to get into it too much with Buzz on that, but let's be honest. Buzz in the Northeast, I just don't know if his shtick works. I think us in the Northeast, and I'm in Charleston, so I'm a little bit nicer, kinder. I can be manipulated. Manipulated a little bit more.
Stop.
Right?
Stop.
Bad example.
All right, fine. I'm not there yet. Not there yet. I'm hoping to be there at some point.
You're evolving. You're evolving.
You're evolving. Here we go. You're evolving.
Hey, when the weather's 80 degrees every day, I got a smile on my face a little bit more.
It's amazing what a walk on the beach will do to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be impressed when you jog across that bridge, like that Charleston Bridge. When you jog across that or walk across it,
it's a long jog.
It's a long jog.
It's a long jog.
Good luck.
I don't think I can drive it. But I'm not jogging yet.
It's not my head scratcher in terms of what we're going to talk about today, but it is a little bit of a head scratcher. But it's really not. I mean, this is what Buzz does. I'm talking on his side, right? You look at the tenure at Marquette, it was, I think, 5 or 6 years. Then he goes to Virginia Tech, it's 5 or 6 years. Then he goes to Texas A&M, it's 5 or 6 years. He never stays in one place for an elongated time saying, hey, all right, this is where I'm going. Like, it's just, he kind of bounces around. I've said it before. Like, it's like he gets a little shaky at a place and he moves on to the next one. The head scratcher for me, if you're him and he's established and Texas A&M's not trying to get rid of him, it's like, you're going to go take a job where you don't have an athletic director? Like, the alignment piece between the administration and your coach, and you're going there, and it's like, okay, your football coach thinks one thing. He thinks one thing in terms of revenue sharing. There's nobody really in charge. The president's not really in charge. So how is this going to work? How are we all going to be aligned to, go after this thing and make sure Maryland football is good, make sure Maryland basketball is good? Like, how is everybody going to be on the same page? That, to me, is the head scratcher. It's like you're taking a job and you don't even know who your boss is.
part of the deal was A&M didn't really care that he left. Like, that's part of the deal here.
Guys,
Otherwise, he wouldn't have left.
He wins, but
He wins.
it becomes at what price? And like I said, he's a grinder. His teams play that way. He's that way, and it wears people out. Say what we want about him, whether we like. I mean, I don't think anybody dislikes it. From a Maryland perspective, you're going to be in the tournament in 2 years. I can take that to the bank. He'll figure out a way. The dude can coach. You're going to win games. I don't care who's in charge. You're going to get it. Now, talk to me in 4 or 5 years. You might be like, damn, like it might be time. And that's just who he is. It's how he is. You can't fault him for that. No matter what you hear or how people is with him, the guy can coach. The guy can win. He will win. We know that. So, as much as I've been critical of the Maryland administration, that part, they've checked the box for him, him doing that or whatever. So that's about the nicest thing I can say about the situation. Is the guy will win and he can coach his ass off. He can do that.
All right. There were 2 more head scratchers in the ACC. All right. One of which was the hire of Jay Lucas to Miami. You say what you want, but it was still a head scratcher. You got a Duke assistant coach that gets hired at Miami. Jim Larinaga retires midway through the year. As Matt said earlier in the show, Jay Lucas leaves in February, a team that some people thought at the time could win the national title. And he goes to get a leg up on the portal. I had a chance to talk to Jay Lucas about, what his style's going to be, because he is a young mid-30s head coach, and we don't really know what his style is going to be like. Here's what he said about his style, his coaching style, the way his teams want to play.
For me, defense will be our foundation. That's going to be a foundation. I feel like you have to be able to guard in. And you may have nights where you're not shooting great, so you can't rely on offense all the time. You got a foundation of defense. So our plan is to be one of the best defensive teams in the country. That'll be something that'll be a staple in our program. I still value being big and having positional size, but also having bigger bodies up front. If you watch the last couple of years of college basketball, those teams have been successful. You look at Florida, what they were able to do. You look at us at Duke, we were bigger. Even the year before when we had Filipowski, or 2 years ago, Filipowski and Derek Lively. UConn was big the years they won. Houston, Auburn played 2 5s. So I think basketball has shifted a little bit, and some of the things that just go into winning, being able to guard, being able to rebound, come up with loose balls when it matter. Those things I think are fundamental. So we'll have that toughness and that defensive mindset. And now offensively, it really, for me, the way you coach offense is what do you have? Like, it's easy to say, oh, I want to play 5 out and I want to shoot 33s and do all this stuff, but that may not be my team. So, that's the kind of end that we'll kind of morph and figure out what best fits us.
All right, RC, your take, not just on what Jay Lucas wants his teams to play like, but your take on the hire of a guy that has not ever coached, never been a head coach, to Miami in the ACC.
I don't know Jay, so this is my honest opinion about it. Jeff, I love it, and I'll tell you why. Traditionally, I understand where you're coming from, where you're concerned. You're like, hey, a guy that's never been a head coach in the ACC, and he takes this rival job. Shire taking over for the greatest college coach in the history of the sport, goes out and gets this guy and makes him his first hire. Outside of the Duke family, when we thought there would never be as many coaches and assistants that Duke has in college basketball, we never thought we'd see a guy outside. He goes, gets Jay. You got to think about his dad. He's coached at Texas and he's coached at Duke. So he's been around high major basketball his entire college coaching career. What his dad is and everything that comes from that, and I don't have to go into all that with you because you understand it. That type of support and help, you see it. I do think he's going to need some veteran guys with him with his staff. I don't know what his entire staff looks like. You may know that, but I love the hire because you can see what he just said in that clip. You see his imprint on that Duke staff, on Duke, because he's right. 2 years ago, they were really big with Lively being a rim protector. That was the strength of that team. This team this year was more talented, but you saw the positional size. So what he says there shows you the impact that he had on Duke basketball in his brief time there. So I love the hire with the NIL support of what he's coming in with his dad. He has so many people to lean on and support him. I think that's the difference with him, that every coach there's not a lot of coaches that have that type of support. And that's why I love the hire. If you're Miami right now, what else are you going to do? You're Coach L a few years away from not even giving a rat's behind about college basketball. So I think it's an ideal fit. I love the hire because I've seen and followed his career, and I've been around him since he's been at Duke. I think again he's smart. I think you see what he wants and how he's envisioning Miami, the same way you saw of Duke from 2 years ago now. So he's giving you a blueprint of what that looks like. I think he'll do really well, provided the NIL support that Miami has had before. They were at the top of it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. How far will they come over now? Because that's a whole nother conversation for another show, is talking about the difference in the NIL from where it was 3 years ago. Think about Nigel Pack. We lost our mind when he signed for $400,000 now. Now big bench guys are getting $400,000 now. So I think if their NIL package is elevated to consistency, I think with the support he has and who he is, I think the Hurricanes got a good coach.
Jeff, 11 years at the University of Florida, and people don't even remember the fact that he played there. Nobody remembers that. Coming out, being a McDonald's All-American, and he went to Florida. And at that point in time, his freshman year, Nick Calathis, Chandler Parsons, Alex Tyus, all those guys, and I say this, and there's been some great players that came through there that I interacted with, one of my favorites of all time. Just how he treated people. I just want to start there, like how he treated people. I was the director of basketball operations, and how he treated me and the relationship I remained to have with them once he became a coach. So you think about that. Went to the University of Florida, played under Billy Donovan. Transfers to Texas, played for Rick Barnes. Worked for Shaka Smart at Texas. Worked for John Calipari at Kentucky. Worked for John Shire at Duke. So this guy has been around Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. He knows exactly what his program should look like, and he knows how to recruit. I'm with RC in terms of the people that he's putting around him, because once you become a head coach, you have to make sure that everyone around you has your back, and everyone around you, when you win a game, lose a game, you walk into your office that you know you're in a positive environment where everyone has your back. But I love the hire because of who Jay Lucas is. Treats people the right way. Never matters whether he's been an assistant at Kentucky or Duke or a player at Florida or Texas or whatever it may be. He treats people the right way. And that is a quality as a coach, taking over a program like that he will carry into that, and we know he's going to get players. We know he's going to get, and he has an awareness. Like in your interview, like he knows, like, look, we got to defend, but at the end of the day, you know, the portal is the portal, and whoever we get, that's how we play on the offensive end of the floor. If we get a really good five-man who can play with his back to the basket, we're not playing five out. We're going to play that way on offense. So he has an awareness, but there aren't better human beings than Jay Lucas, and couldn't be happier for him, and I think Miami's going to win.
Yeah, one of the things I like now is hiring a young head coach that can connect with these kids. I think it's a major advantage. I think we've seen it with John Shire already. I think Jay Lucas can do some of the same things. Obviously, you know, they don't have the roster yet. I think it's going to take some time, but he got some good players down there, and the key is going to be, can they score the ball? They can defend. You could see that with some of the players they brought in, but it's going to be interesting to see certainly what Jay can do here over the next few years at Miami, and if he can get that program back to where it was, you know, it's nationally relevant again. All right, next up, we'll talk about the other guy in the ACC that was a little bit of a wild card hire, and that is Luke Loucks at Florida State. We'll also get everybody's take. Indiana's hire of Darian DeVries. Where do we stand? This is kind of a little bit of a lightning rod hire right now. Up next, after lunch, Field of 68.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
All right, welcome back. Field of 68 after lunch. Special coaching carousel edition here. I'm Jeff Goodman here with Matt McCall, here with Randolph Childress, and another guy that was a little bit of a outside the box hire. And this is kind of the new trend, guys. The old trend fizzled out, right? I've been hammering it for years. Finally, it fizzled out. You know, the guy with $100 million coming from the NBA with a ton of money in their bank account that had played, made a ton, whether it's Chris Mullin, Patrick Ewing, Juwan Howard, all these guys, even Mike Woodson from a coaching standpoint in the NBA, coming over, having no experience really in college, and pretty much all of them are gone now, other than your boy Penny, RC, who's still hanging on by a little bit of a thread. Not a thread, but he's still got to do something in the tournament.
Stay on task.
You ain't crossed the bridge yet, Jeff. You ain't walked the bridge yet. You hadn't crossed the bridge.
Stay on task. Come on.
It's hard. When you get older.
Get back to Luke Locks.
When you get older, all right, Luke Locks. All right, here we go. So Kevin Young was hired a year ago at BYU, a BYU, guy who was hired. People in the area wanted that hire. He comes in and he did a hell of a job last year. Incredible job, right? And got AJ DeBonsa coming in this year, coming up. Rob Wright, like they got it rolling now. So one of these new trends, instead of the former NBA guys, players, is these NBA assistant coaches now. And we've seen it a couple other times here with Luke Loucks coming over from the Sacramento Kings and Alex Jensen coming back. He played for Rick Majerus on those Keith Van Horn teams at Utah. And he comes over also from being a longtime NBA assistant coach. First, before I get your take on this trend, let's hear from Luke Loucks on why he thinks it's different than those former NBA guys who made a ton of money playing the game and came over and didn't work.
In the interview process, that was the main, I wouldn't say holdup, but the main concern, right, is there's just not a lot of guys that have come from the NBA and succeeded in college, which they're absolutely right. In a way to say there's no disrespect to any of those guys that have come down, because they all have their own circumstances that maybe we don't know about, and maybe there's other reasons besides just their coaching of why it didn't work out at those places. the one thing I would say that you touched on a little bit, and even talking with some of my mentors like Mike Brown, I'm like, how do I answer this question? Because I can't compare myself to these former NBA guys. The biggest thing is what you said. It's your livelihood. Like I started as a paid intern making minimum wage for Golden State Warriors when I finished up playing professionally, right? And I started at the absolute bottom, and they're cranking out film, doing player development, making coffee some days, whatever was needed, I was doing, right? And from there, you just basically grow as a coach, and every day it's an interview. You show up every day and you work your butt off. You prove to people that not only are you capable of coaching at a high level, but that you're here and you're going to work harder than anyone else, and you're going to be smart about it. And every one of those stops, I didn't look at it as a job promotion. I looked at it as an opportunity and almost an interview to prove myself at whatever that is, whatever the task is, that I'm going to do it at the absolute maximum, most efficient way possible, and learn along the way.
Interesting because, again, and I get it. Yes, he's right. Like, they don't have a ton of money in their pocket coming over here. This is an unbelievable opportunity. Loucks played at Florida State, went to 4 NCAA tournaments under Coach Leonard Hamilton, when he was there. I'm still not sure I'm all in on this trend, RC, just because Kevin Young had a hell of a season in year one.
It's easier to have that type of success. Well, first of all, there really aren't a lot of bad coaches. It's about fit a lot of times for these guys. If you take some of these NBA guys, just to go back, and I'm not arguing against Coach Loucks. I mean, Loucks. I understand what he's saying. He grinds, and I understand the model now with the NIL. With college basketball with the NIL is everybody's mimicking it, so I get it. This is a trend. You are NBA guys; they're used to doing it, but you don't have at Florida State the money and the resources that being invested in that you had at BYU. One. Unless they're giving him some money, I don't give a damn how good a coach he is.
He doesn't have money. He doesn't have money. He's got to raise money.
Unless he can raise a hell of a lot of money, good luck. I wish him the best of luck. He's grinding. There's no way to take a knock on him. But the only thing I'm going to push back on what he was saying is in the sense of the perception, right? The perception versus the former athletes with a ton of money. Jeff, I would say this. You can go back and take some of those same hires now, because now you're not recruiting, right? So you can take these guys because it's about basketball.
Give them money, yeah.
Give them money. Now you come in, you give those same guys money, they could be probably more successful in a sense of this, if from a basketball perspective. So, I mean, you can make the argument either way. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to make it seem like I'm attacking Luke and what he's saying, because he has to grind at Florida State, with no money. If he got to raise money, and again, another one of those schools that all their resources are going to go to football, then the best of luck to him.
Yeah, everybody has to grind as a head coach. So that's my only push. Everybody's grinding. And everybody's grinding and raising money.
They don't grind. They don't.
Who?
The ones that win do. The ones that win do. Some of them get them.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But even still,
Chris Mullen grinded.
You're not grinding.
Chris Mullen worked.
Well, I mean, no, he didn't. The guy lost his job. If you don't grind, you're not going to keep your job. But at the end of the day, grinding nowadays is not about working the phones. It's not about, all the X's and O's. It's more about, hey, man, I got to go call this donor, this booster, and make sure that the money's in the collective to be able to go put a roster together and then hope that I have some stuff. Like, coaching is like an afterthought. Like, the talent matters. And that's the thing with Jay Lucas right now. I think the guy understands that. Like, that's what matters. Like, I don't care, how much, you think the X's and O's and you're the greatest coach and you could draw up an underneath out of bounds play and you could do all this and you've worked for great coaches. That's a piece of it, but it's a small piece of it. It's a small piece of it. Who's on your team? Who's shooting those shots? That's the difference with BYU. Like, BYU was able to go out there and get the best player in the country to come to BYU. Not because the coach
No, Matt, also they got the number one player in high school. Like none of us.
That's my point.
None of
because
us
of
can
this,
sit here and say we thought
you can't tell me it's because he
BYU
was grinding. It has nothing to do with
would
that.
be in the top. Yes, it wrote a check. So to your point, Jeff, if Chris Mullen in today's time, he was qualified to do what Rick Pitino's doing. Let me run back to New York. Let me raise some money. Let me sign some checks. I would, again, we know what Rick Pitino's doing. I'm not comparing him to Rick. Rick's on Mount Rushmore. But I'm saying he would be more successful if it meant him coming back, raise some money, sign some checks, identify the talent. Now we're looking at Chris Mullen totally different now. So I just think this is just this hiring cycle thing is just more of ADs and administrators looking at it like, all right, the business of college athletics is evolving in the
I think the bigger question is Florida State setting him up for success? Or are they worried about, hey, look, their football program last year was an absolute disaster.
We already got the money. We already got the answer to that. They worried about fixing that damn football program. That is the thing. Every dime they got is going there. And then whatever had left over, let me win the press conference or hire him. He cares about it.
So you guys are saying, well, if you got the money, Chris Mullen. Well, Mike Woodson had the money a year ago. He had over $5 million. Last I checked, they did not get in the NCAA tournament. They just hired Darren DeVries from West Virginia. Prior to that, he was at Drake. Has done a great job. Even last year at West Virginia, I know they didn't get in. They were like the last team out of the field. But without his son, without Tucker, and without a ton of talent, they were right there. What do we think of this hire at Indiana? He's gone to the portal and gotten a bunch of, primarily mid-major guys who are going out. Even his son. I mean, his son played 9 games at the high major level. He was at Drake and he dominated the Valley. What do we think of Darren DeVries? Is he the right guy for Indiana to get Indiana back to where they're competing for Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, and maybe even, dare I say it, a Final Four, RC?
Jeff, this is when we talked about this coming on the show and this particular subject. I got two, I wouldn't say disappointing hires because I know they can coach. It isn't about coaching. It's just a situation and opportunity they're presented with. Just like Matt just said about Luke at Florida State. My 2 jobs was Texas and Sean Miller and Indiana with Darian DeVries. And it has nothing to do with either one of the 2 coaching abilities. I know Sean. I do know him. I don't know Coach DeVries. It's the expectations of the jobs that they are, of where they are, right? That's the problem that concerns me about it, because getting to the tournament, it's not enough at those 2 jobs. It's not enough. So we going back, and I'm gonna sit here and tell you guys. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna go back the last 30 years. I'll start with Texas and go to Indiana. Tom Penders went to the tournament 3 or 4 years. Rick Barnes, 16 to 17 years. Shaka, 3 of 6. We know about Chris Beard, Rodney Terry. Even still, that combination went every year.
Rick Barnes went to the Final Four.
So what is Sean? So I love this hire of Sean. It's not an indictment of Sean as a coach. It's an indictment on. It's basically he better go to the Natty and win for a program that has never won a national championship at a football school. Then we go to Indiana. Great year by that football program. Congratulations. It's great. But again, we're heading into another program where it's been of the last same period since 95, the last 31 years, they've been to the tournament 18 times. They've missed the tournament 13 of those times since 2004. So you're asking a lot, and having money is a problem, but I always say this, Jeff, I've said this before. Shopping in a portal is like going to the fucking thrift store. You can find something and it's worth a lot because it's cheap, or you can spend a whole lot of money for something and bring it home and the shit falls apart and as soon as you freaking sit on it or attempt to use it. That's what the portal is. You're shopping in the thrift store. Some people hit, some don't. We got Hall of Fame coaches. Y'all are laughing, but you know I'm telling the truth. It's ask Bill Self, who we all think is a hell of a fucking coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. The money he spent on his transfers a year ago, did he get his money's worth? Did he hit? Are any of us questioning Bill's self? It's freaking a coin flip with all of this. So having money, learning how to do it, you're at the mercy of just the marketing or whatever else. So I don't have an argument against any one of those of these guys, because I think they're both really good coaches, and I know Sean's a hell of a coach. But you're going into a situation where I'm sitting here telling you, in the last 31 years, Texas men's basketball is 25-6 in making it to the NCAA tournament, and they getting rid of your ass. And the last time I checked, fellas, Rick Barnes was a pretty damn good coach. Last time I checked, Shaka Smart's a pretty damn good coach. Like, we understand what happened to Chris Beard, but go ahead. You guys go ahead.
Hold on.
McCall,
RC,
DeVries.
RC is definitely not shopping at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or Home Goods. He ain't going to any three of those places.
McCall, DeVries, what's your take on that hire?
Look, I'm with. He can coach. He won 20 games every single year at Drake. Every single year. Was it 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was? Last year at West Virginia, 19 wins, taking over a situation that was extremely difficult. Bob Huggins, everything that happened, the program was not in a good place. Not in a good place. His son doesn't play the whole season. We'll see if his son, gets this extra year of eligibility, which is most likely going to happen. But the guy can flat out coach. There's no question about that. How engaging is he going to be with the fan base? Like, that to me is what Indiana needs. It's like, you have to be more flamboyant. You can't just be a coach that, you know what, I'm not going to get on X. I'm not going to do this. Like, I gotta show. I gotta get out there and be with the boosters, be with the donors, and do all that is more important nowadays than, you know what, I'm an X and O coach. This is what I can do. This is what I'm about. Either like it or not. I'm only going to meet with the top donor. No, you have to be flamboyant. It's a different day and age. You just have to do it. Will he be willing to do that? To me, is what's going to make or break his career at Indiana. I'm with RC in terms of the expectations. Like Tom Crean, heck of a coach, did a heck of a job there, ran him out of town. Archie Miller dealt with a pandemic, really good coach, was the best hire at that point in time coming out of Dayton. Nobody thought Archie Miller was going to fail at Indiana. Nobody did. You throw the pandemic in there, like that's a different dynamic to deal with. And then hiring Mike Woodson. How does he engage his fan base? To me, that's going to be the difference maker, because the guy can absolutely coach, and I do think he's going to get players and talent.
The ghost of Kelvin Sampson is haunting Bloomington, Indiana right now.
Ooh, it's been
more than
RC. It is
more
been.
than people ever want to acknowledge.
It is
the ghost
been.
of firing
Yes.
Kelvin Sampson is haunting you right now.
So obviously, you guys know I would love Indiana to be really good this year. My daughter's there. It's her senior year. I'd like to get out and see her. I didn't get out for a game this past year. They weren't good enough. They got a ton of money, guys. A ton of money. The roster is basically set already. I'm going to read you where these guys all came from. Okay? Read you the list here. I'm not even going to tell you the names. I'm just going to read you where they came from, where they were last year. Troy, Sam Houston State, West Virginia, played 9 games. Davidson, North Florida, DePaul, Drexel, Elon, North Florida, and transfer, Sam Alexis from Florida. He came off the bench and played a little bit for the Gators. Scares me a little bit this year, I'm not going to lie. I mean, that doesn't sound like a team. And I know everybody's going to be like, well, look at Florida's 3 guards. They all came from the mid-major ranks. I get it. But you can do that with anything, right? You come out with a one-off of anything. Those 3 guards were spectacular. But I don't know if this team is going to be you got to get to the tournament with all this money. You got to get to the tournament, because Mike Woodson was unable to do it. And yes, Darren DeVries is I don't want to say a much better coach, but I think he's a better coach than Mike Woodson. I think he works harder. I think he's going to be around more. I don't think he's going to play golf as much. I think all of those things are going to be true. But you better win with this type of money that you have in Bloomington, Indiana this year. There's no excuse not to. And the big thing is going to be, do you have a dude and do you have a point guard? And as Matt said, do you have the personality to handle it if things don't go well in year one at Indiana? Are you going to be able to deal with, people coming at you? Because, Darian DeVries has never had that. At Drake the whole time, he won. He won for the most part. West Virginia last year is a 1-year deal, but they won enough last year for the most part, especially early on in the season. They started off really well, and then he had the excuse of his son Tucker not being healthy. So I think that's certainly going to be one to watch as much as
Jeff,
probably.
I want to push back a little bit because you throw out all these players and their schools. Where did Janai Broome play?
Yeah,
I
get it.
But no, hold on. Chaz Lanier, North Florida.
Yep.
Like, you look at these really good Denver Jones, FIU. I'm just looking at the teams in the Final Four, and you throw out Florida, and you throw out, that backcourt of Walter Clayton at Iona, who's now played himself into a top 15 draft pick, most likely. Elijah Martin. We've talked that's the day and age. Now, here's the question, Jeff. Is his staff doing the job? Dalton Connect, right, at Tennessee, Northern Colorado. Is his staff doing a good job of evaluating the portal that fits him? That's the question.
It's going to be the key.
It goes back to the coaching staff.
Yep.
It goes back to the coaching staff.
I think that's the key to the portal in today's times in general, right? I think we can't limit that to Indiana, and I agree with you, because the question becomes, you can have a ton of money now, unless you could be telling me it's the Kentucky type of money where I can throw around millions of dollars in every position and go. I don't know. Jeff, you would speak to that more about where they are from an NIL perspective. But if you're telling me he's getting guys, and I think that's the decision you got to make with your portal. Am I going to spend 7 figures at a position or multiple positions, or am I going to throw 400 or 500 at each spot, multiple positions, and I'm going to play with depth? I don't know what his plan is until we see it. So, but my thing is, the expectations of Indiana is the tournament, and like I just told you guys, they've missed it 13 times since 2004. They're just trying. Maybe that's good enough for them. It's not for Texas, but it's good enough for. Maybe is that good enough for Indiana? Is the question. Getting to the tournament, you're okay. Maybe if that's the ceiling, then I think he'll be fine.
All right, we got about 10 more minutes here. Let's kind of hit on a few other ones, kind of more rapid fire with some of the ones that we really haven't touched on so far.
Right.
I know RC mentioned Ben McCollum at Iowa. I love it. I love it. It helps when you bring Bennett Sturts over at a discount rate too to get going, right? Maybe as good a point guard as we're going to have in the country, not named Braden Smith. He's got shooters around him. The guy can coach. We know that. He fits Iowa. He's from there. So I don't even think we need to waste a lot of time breaking down Ben McCollum at Iowa. I think unless, Matt, you want to push back on it, I think we would all grade that as an A or close to it. All right. Here's one we haven't talked about, and it's kind of two-pronged, but let's start with Nico Medved going back home to Minnesota, a place that they haven't really won at a high level in a long, long time. Richard Pitino had a little bit of success, like you said, Matt, but it's been a while since they won there, but Nico's from there. Can he get it done there, Matt? Because, again, I think they have decent money, but they're not playing with a $10 million payroll or anything like that.
It's the same thing. It's the same conversations that we're having. Nico can coach. I coached against him when he was at Furman, had tremendous teams there. He built that program, to see, the job that he did at Drake, and then he goes to Colorado State. The guy can flat out coach, and now he gets this opportunity at Minnesota. What are his resources in terms of NIL, and can he recruit? I think at one point in time, and maybe fact check me if I'm wrong on this, Jeff, Minnesota is the only D1 college basketball team in the entire state. They may have one more now. There's good players out there too. There's players to recruit to keep in your state. But at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to that because Nico can flat out coach, and I'll just leave it at that.
It's Minnesota. Can he get them to the NCAA tournament once or twice in 5 years? It's one of those. It's called. I'll say this, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way because he knows how I feel about him. Can he win like at Clemson with Brad Brownell? Right when you think you want to fire him, he makes the NCAA tournament. That's would be the definition of success at Minnesota.
Yep.
For me with him, because it's Minnesota basketball. I mean, you guys can't sit here and name me a starting five that's ever played there at Minnesota. So he's a hell of a coach. We know it. But again, he went home. Congratulations. But he has a daunting job in that conference, daunting task in that conference against that competition and bringing that level of competition he needs to be successful. So I think the Brad Brownell comparison earlier in his career is a comp for him.
Yeah, like you said, if they can go to the tournament 2 out of every 5 years at Minnesota, you're doing a good job. If you can go more than that, you're doing a hell of a job. So the question is, again, can he find a way to maximize his talent and put the pieces together that fit, right? You may not have the highest payroll, and it gives you a smaller room for error, right? You can't have an injury, a key injury. You can't miss on one of your top guys out of the portal. But I think the guy's smart enough. And again, for him, he'll be able to probably raise some more money than a lot of other guys would have because of his connections to the area. I think that'll help him as well. All right, SEC, 2 hires in the SEC. RC mentioned one of them, and it wasn't like he was crushing Sean Miller, Matt, but he was just saying the expectations at Texas have been completely out of whack for what they've done. Yes, they're a football school, but yes, they've got a brand new facility, brand new practice facility, all that. They've got money. We know that if they want to spend it on football and hoop, they have it. Does Sean Miller get Texas to where, and it's a similar question I asked for Darren DeVries at Indiana, which is why RC went in on both of them that way. Can Sean get them to a Final Four? He's been to 4 Elite Eights, by the way, in his career coaching between Xavier and Arizona.
I think he can get him to the Final Four, but I'm with RC in terms of the expectations. I mean, it's out of control. And where this program thinks they should be. I mean, that, when's the last time this program won a national championship? We talk about the ghost of Kelvin Sampson, like the ghost of Chris Beard a little bit here. That was a can't miss hire and what transpired. And then, all of a sudden everything happens there and he's out. Rodney Terry takes over in a difficult situation, challenging situation. I think you can get him to the Final Four. Again, it's the same thing. The guy can coach. That's not the problem. He hasn't forgot how to draw up a ball play coming out of a timeout. He hasn't, forgotten how to run a practice. The guy can coach. They have the resources. He's going to get the players. It's a desirable place to go to school. What's going on in your locker room? Are you putting the right players in your locker room? Who's on your staff?
So how much does staff matter now? Matt, how much? Because we're saying money is paramount. Money is the most important thing. But again, you've talked about it a little bit. And I've minimized probably the value of staff a little bit more than I should have, because staff is still what is going to evaluate these players in the portal, is it not?
It's the most important thing. And if your staff is not connected and your staff is not on the same page and your staff doesn't have your head coach's back, I don't care how much money you're paying these kids, you ain't got no shot. You have no
Jeff,
shot.
I've often said this, Jeff. The most important person on any staff is the person that has the coach's ear, whomever that is. If that person I guarantee you there's going to be some assistant coaches that'll text me now and people on the staff will text me now. Whoever has the coach's ear is the most important. I don't give a shit about your titles. I don't care if you're associate head. I don't care what your title is. The person that has his ear is the most important person on that staff, and how that person helps the coach in relaying information and communicating with those. is so underrated, and I think is as important as anything else that you can that we're talking about. And so staff is incredibly
RC,
important.
and how is he interacting with the other coaches?
That's what
If
I'm
there's
saying.
a
With
guy,
everybody, yes,
yeah,
he's
with
the key
everybody
because,
within the
again,
program. Yes,
that person has to be like a de facto head coach because he has the time to really listen and hear everybody else and not start all the clickbait bullshit that staffs have and all these issues. Winning is hard enough. When you don't, and that's, I've said it to head coaches, if you don't do that, you won't be successful anyway. That's
have no
the issue
shot.
I always see going around now, doing what we do, Matt. Now I'm in the huddle with all these guys. I see it, and I'm looking at some of these people, and I'm like, y'all got no shot. It's just a matter of time. You guys are on the clock. You're in trouble.
Yep.
The only thing I
Yep.
will add why it's important, Jeff, because now more than ever, when you're not Texas, and I would say this even at Texas using Sean as an example, these people want money, but they want access, and they want access to Sean. They want access to the team. So the staff's important. Where you gotta kind of run it like football now. That's why they're hiring. It's gotta be. I gotta spend time with the donors now, with everybody else, and you gotta damn near run it like coordinators now. Where I gotta be the head coach. I'm like, Jeff, you got my offense. Matt, you got my defense. We're gonna meet, discuss it. I gotta go deal with this. I'll be back. I'm overseeing everything. You're implementing things, and obviously I got the final
probably
say.
should flip that though. I should be in charge of the offense because my team's going to score.
Absolutely.
And like
Absolutely.
Jeff, maybe let him try to figure out the defensive piece. Like maybe
What
we
are you
should
trying
flip
to
that.
say? Trying to say,
You
know,
can't
I
draw up a
run
ball
offense?
play. You got no shot.
All right.
Maybe
All right.
try to teach him.
Anyway,
you know
who can? Hey, you know who can drop a ball play? I'll give you a guy who could drop a ball play, and he drop whether it's a play for a quarterback, whether it's a play to run for a point guard, and that is one Charlie Ward, who is the new head coach at Florida A&M. I know both these guys wanted to talk about him, but first, let's hear why the former Heisman Trophy winner, the former NBA first-round pick, the former New York Knick, took the job at Florida A&M.
I wasn't looking for the job, and I was actually coaching in the Nike Hoop Summit when I received a call first from my wife, a text message, telling me to be open-minded.
Okay.
And then secondly, she said that A.D. Suggs, who is athletic director at Florida A&M, is going to be giving me a call. And so those two came at the same time. And, when the opportunity, when I got the opportunity to talk to her about the position, it's really only college job that I would take at this time for this simple reason. It's in Tallahassee. Yep. And my wife and we're building a youth and family sports education and wellness campus here in town. And that was already in the works. And we had put down roots here in Tallahassee. And this gave me an opportunity to be able to continue coaching at a pace and a place that I could continue to build a brand. And so FAMU has a national brand, a global brand, and the men's basketball program. I don't know if we're going to have a winning record or not, but we want to be able to win the SWAC and, play in the NCAA tournament. And so those things are very intriguing to me. And all the places that I've coached they've had very similar beginnings where the programs were in flux, and I was able to come in and make them respectable, but while also making a great impact on the young men that we were being able to coach.
It's awesome.
What a
so
great
awesome.
dude that guy is. And for all the young people watching right now, they have no idea what type of character, what type of an athlete Charlie Ward was. I mean, again, to be the Heisman Trophy winner and then go in the next year and be a point guard for the New York Knicks, Randolph, Childress, just your take on the hire of Charlie Ward and watching what he just said.
A home run hire, it just gives you credibility to hear about what he says. It gives him credibility of when you speak on him, because that doesn't hire. The way he was hired doesn't happen. most coaches or there's most people, Florida A&M sought him out because of his reputation. That you won't find a person in this world has a negative thing to say about Charlie Ward. You just won't. One of the all-time stand-up guys. I think he'll do wonders for that university. He'll bring so much attention, so much resources. We talk about fit. That's why we started out the show. I said fit-wise, he was right up there for me with Will Wade and McCollum at Iowa. So I think the world of him, man, and I'm just cheering for him and all the success I think he'll have on and off the court.
Matt?
Unbelievable, man. And take it from a guy that my dad was a middle linebacker at the University of Florida. So I grew up having to root so hard against Charlie Ward, watching him play against the Gators, like so hard. The level of humility when you just hear the guy talk. I was doing the Nike Hoop Summit in studio for NBC, and I remember saying to Ahmed Fareed, I'm like, "Oh man, that's Charlie Ward." I didn't even know he was coaching basketball, and he just listening to that interview, Jeff, like NRC, like he doesn't make it about himself, man. He's like, you know what? Me and my wife planted roots here in Tallahassee. This is where we live, and I have an opportunity to put a positive impact on this FAMU program. That was my mid-major coach that got hired that I wanted to talk about. The best mid-major hire, low major hire, whatever it may be, Charlie Ward. I mean, how many coaches, and the answer is none, can set the Heisman Trophy up on their desk and say, come play here? Like, set the trophy up. He's got to put it in his office at FAMU. He's got to put the trophy in there. Unbelievable. And again, man, just the level of humility when you hear him speak. Yep. I got a tremendous amount of respect for that.
It makes it a lot easier when your wife says, hey, you're going to get a call, because basically she already negotiated the deal. You're taking this job. So when Tanya said, yo, Charlie, AD's going to call Suggs, you're taking this job. So she'll be calling you at 3 o'clock. So congratulations to Tanya and Charlie, man. Big time. That's awesome. Super excited for this family.
All right, last comment. We'll each take one here. One coach, one hire that we have not mentioned yet that we cannot let the show go without mentioning, okay? Whether it's somebody that could be for any reason. I'm going to start, and I'm going to say I think South Florida hit a grand slam here with Brian Hodgson, a grand slam. I mean, he learned from Nate Oates. He was with him at Buffalo when they won, with him in Alabama when he got that thing going. And then he goes, obviously, to Arkansas State and wins there in his 2 seasons there. I think South Florida hit an absolute home run there. Matt, who do you got?
This was my head scratcher a little bit, and I think the guy's a good coach, and he did an unbelievable job at Samford. Bucky McMillan to Texas A&M. The jump from the Southern Conference to go to the SEC is a big jump. And how does he manage that? It's a fan base that if you're not winning, and winning at a high level early on, like RC has talked about earlier, like you get 2 years, like that's it. That was one. I think it's a really, really big jump to make. So I'm anxious to see how that plays out. The Bucky ball with the runaround, pressing, trapping, in the Southern Conference was super effective. But speaking on my own experience, like when you make the jump to the next level, there's adjustments, and you have to adjust as a head coach. You have to adjust in terms of the people that are around you. So that's the one I don't think we talked about at A&M that I'm anxious to see how that plays out.
My only thing about that, Matt, would be the timing when all that took place. I think with the amount of dominoes that already fallen, that they were I think he's a good coach, and I think he'll do well. But I also think they weren't out in front of this process because of how everything transpired with them. For me, it's 2 names. I think it's Phil Martelli Jr. and it's Darius Nichols. I think those 2 guys are guys that I've gotten to know personally. And I just think they'll do exceptionally well. With Phil Martelli Jr., I'm always – in this offseason, there's a lot of, like, guys that are transitioning with having successful dads. We talked about Odom. We talked about Lucas. And I'd add Martelli Jr. to that. Having a guy with the resources from a basketball perspective that his dad will provide for him and what he's done in his own right. He's been around other great coaches who do well. And, Nichols heading to LaSalle. It's been a tough gig, but I think he can I don't know if he can sustain a high level, but I think you'll look up and he could have a George Mason, like Tony Skeen type of season in the next 2 or 3 years.
And Jeff, there's one more.
All right. Well, we covered it.
There's one more.
McCall's not done.
Uh-oh.
The most positive guy in all of college basketball, Josh Pastner.
Josh Pastner.
Most positive guy. Just call his voicemail, and when his voicemail answers, you will understand. Anxious to see how Coach Pastors does out, and at UNLV, super happy for him.
Can I tell you guys this? I'm not kidding when I say this. There's only 2 numbers I know by heart that I don't have to look on my phone what their numbers are. You know, in the old days, you knew everybody's number. Now with a cell phone, there's only 2 numbers I know by heart. My wife's and Josh Pastner's. He's had it since he was an assistant years ago. Josh used to call me, no lie. Josh used to, tell this all the time. He used to call me at like 1 a.m, and my wife would be like, "Oh, it's Josh again," as an assistant. So Josh, about as relentless as it gets, that's not going to change. And if anybody can get it done at UNLV, it is Josh Pastner. I find it very interesting, though. Think about this, guys. He is the most positive dude in the world. He's going to bring an energy that UNLV needs, but also that UNLV hired somebody that doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't drink caffeine, doesn't smoke, any of those things. Very interesting. Very interesting in Vegas.
And he drives a white minivan. So I know somebody got to send this to Josh, because I was with Josh in the studios in TNT this summer, and I'm telling you guys, he pulls up every day in this white minivan. So I'm getting on him, and I told him, you just got hired, you're the new head coach. And honestly, he got the call. We were talking while he was there. Got the call when he was in studio. So again, unbelievable guy. I think we all know him, cheering for him. One of the best people you're going to find in this business. But he is a hell of a coach. He also is a really good basketball coach. He knows I feel that way about him. But I got to give him so much shit about driving this minivan.
Yeah, the minivan.
We got to get a deal. Can we get a deal with him in Vegas?
The other thing, too, RC, he would show up to the studio, and he would have black Adidas pants on. He'd have a black shirt, and I'm like, Josh, are we in studio tonight to break down the action, or are you reffing the game? Which one are you doing tonight, man? Like, you got this. Like, which one are we doing?
Oh, man.
He's the man.
He got to get somebody to help him out.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Thanks to Matt McCall, Randolph Childress. Thanks to our producer, Trevor Valise. Coaching Carousel special here on the Field of 68. Make sure you join us later this week. We'll have more shows as always. And best of luck, too, guys. 2 other things. Best of luck to Rob Doster, who's dealing with he went to the dentist this morning, had his wisdom teeth taken out. So the best thing that could happen for his wife is that Rob can't speak today. So heal properly, Rob. Get better, but don't get better too quickly, because right now the family's got to be ecstatic that right now you cannot speak.
Hey, Jeff, it's so Rob. You 45 years old, man.
How is you? Oh, you getting
your
wisdom teeth out now?
Like, what are you, like now? You get damn.
Right. Don't you do that when you're like
20? If that's not the biggest Rob Doster thing I've ever heard. Like, that's it.
I don't know.
Come on, man.
Number two, happy anniversary to Matt McCall and his lovely wife, Allison. All right. How many years, Matt?
13. She's been putting up with me 13 years.
You were thinking about that too long. Hey, that took you too long to think of how many years.
No.
Matt.
Lucky number 13. FAU, Florida, Chattanooga, Amherst, Massachusetts. I moved her to. Come on, man. So,
hey, man, what's the dinner? What's the dinner reservation type? What we got tonight? Steak night? Is it seafood? What's the dinner plan?
Ooh, we got UConn down there in Palm Beach. Nice place. Can't wait. We're going early though. We're going early. All right, 5:30.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. Happy anniversary, and we'll talk to you.